Alright, so in the previous video we were able to perform the delete no-do. As you can see here, we're able to click on our delete button and we are able to delete that item. Very good. Let's go ahead and add a few here because we can. Let's see, what would be a no-to-do? Eat too much. Yeah, we don't want to do that, even though it's great. Let's see, over exercise. Well, can't have it all, I guess. Okay, so we have added a few others. Of course, obviously, you can also do that on using Android. Okay, so it's going to be the same thing, but now I'm just using iOS. Either way, that works. Okay, let's go ahead and figure out how to update. The idea that I have about updating is I want to be able to click on the entire row, so long press, as you can see here in the back, and when that happens, we're going to invoke show an alert dialog where they can enter their updates. Okay, so it's going to be very similar to this one here. In fact, we're going to copy the same thing and get it to work. I'm going to get rid of this debug. What's new? And let's go ahead and say update item. We're going to do the same thing here. I'm going to pass the item list, pass the index because we need to go get, index. We need to go and get the ID. And I'm going to pass in index as well, like that. Of course, let's create a method. There we go. We have our update there. Very nicely done. I'm going to go ahead and actually change this to pass a no-do item as such. Let's go back and probably make some changes here. Right, so instead of, we're just going to get the object instead of the actual ID because we're going to do all of that inside of the method. Okay, this is much better. Okay, but we still have our index there. That's very good. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to create another alert. I'm going to say var alert. Now, I do realize some of you there who have been programming for a while, there's this thing called refactoring, which means we're trying to remove all the fat from the code, repetition, and so forth. But in this case, we're going to be repeating, I say that again, we're going to be repeating code here because we just want to get this to work, okay? And we'll talk later on how to factor our code and make it cleaner and all beautiful. So do not get alarmed, do not get angry, start sending me hate mail. Yo, Paulo, you are just repeating code and blah, 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 blah. Yes, I'm very aware of that. So let's keep going. All right, so I'm going to create a new alert dialog here. Of course, I'm going to pass a few things. The title is going to be new text. And I'm going to say update item. Okay, so content here is going to put a new row. Children, and then I'm going to put a new expand because that seems to be the thing to do. So we have all the spacings that we need. And for child here, new text field, you know that. And for controller, I'm going to just use the same text editing controller here that we used before. And let's also make this autofocus to be true. Essentially, this, like I said, the same thing we did before for our alert. But sometimes I like typing somehow. It's a calming feeling. All right, so I'm going to say decoration here, new input decoration, and labeled text. I'm going to just say item. And hint text. G, say don't buy stuff. And for an icon, I'm going to just pass a new icon here, icons dot node add. Is there an update? Let's see, update. Oh, there is an update. I love it. There we go. We just got an update icon. Very cool. Very, very cool indeed. Okay, so we have that done. And the next thing, let's see. Let's just go ahead and put a comma, semicolon there so we don't see all those issues. It's time for us to actually add a few actions. I'm going to say actions what is it that we want? Give us some space there. Say new flat button, and I'm going to say async here because I'm going to just have an anonymous method or function there. So this is where everything is going to happen. Before we go any further, let me go ahead and actually add a text so our button has some sort of text. Okay, I'm going to say update. There we go. While I'm here, let's say new flat button. This is just going to be for, I'm going to just go ahead and finish this up. Let's say navigator dot pop, passing that context. There we go. For child, let's give a title. So new text, it's just going to be cancel. Right, nothing new here. So when we click on this cancel button in our alert, it's going to just get rid of it. And we should be good. All right. And before I forget, because I always do, let's see, call the show dialog here. We're going to pass our context, of course. And then, of course, we need to pass our builder. In our builder, we need to pass our constant. But we know we're going to just go ahead and pass an underscore, which signifies we are passing the same constant here. And then, as we build, I'm going to just return new alert. What do we call? Has to be return. Semicolon. Whoops, not new, just alert. There we go. Because we're not recreating a new object. There we go. So we should be good. Let's go back and work on our onPressed. So onPressed here, this is where we are going to put together the code that will go and update this item. I'm going to create a map here because remember that's what we need to update. I'm going to say No-To-Do called new item updated. Okay, can name it whatever we want. I'm going to go and invoke the No-Do item from. Where is the from map, right? Because we're going to put a map here. So the map is going to have an item name. Remember, these have to be exactly the same as what we put in our database, right? Let's see, right? These item names and date created and all that stuff has to be the same. And make sure also if we go to do, let's go here, the actual item, you see, they have to be the same. These are the fields that we are mapping everything together with. Okay, so it's going to be item name as the key, and the value is going to be the text. Let's see, why isn't this working? Right, I have to put this inside of curly braces because this is indeed a map. Okay, so text, edit controller.text. Okay, so whatever they have entered. And then for date created, colon, I'm going to call the date formatted. Now we haven't created this method yet. We're going to create, it's going to be just a helper method that will allow us to actually format everything so that it looks decent. Okay, we'll talk about it in a second here. And then ID is going to be item. What item? Well, the item that we're passing here, the actual object, that ID. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this. In fact, for now, I'm going to go to util and create it myself. Let's say .file, call date formatter. And of course here I'm going to say import, and I'm going to international int, there we go, .dart. So remember in the beginning we actually put that in our pub specs. We have this int international here package or plugin which allows us to format all sort of things, dates included. Okay, there we go, everything is coming together. So I'm going to create a string called date formatted method here, which we just created earlier. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and return, I'm going to say var now, so get date that now, so the moment that we actually enter this entry. And then we'll say var formatter is equal to new date format, and I'm going to pass and then I'm going to pass the string pattern that I need to format the date with. So if you go back to previous videos, you will see I went through the process where you can actually go and find all of these string formatters, if you will, new patterns that they call them. So I'm just going to copy, I'm going to say space D, okay, and then YY, like that. You'll see. So this is the format style that we want for our date when it comes back to be formatted as. Okay. Then I'm going to string formatted. I'm going to use the formatter that we just created, and that format, I'm going to pass our now. Okay. Of course, I'm going to return formatted. That will be the string that is ready for us to use. Now, if we go back to our, let's see, date formatter, No-To screen here, we can import that library and we should be good. And while we're here, let's go ahead and call this as well to somewhere else where we're actually creating an item. Where are we creating our first object? Right here, instead of calling all of that, we can just go ahead and pass also the date format. That way it just calls in and formats our date for us so that it doesn't look like this gibberish here, right? It looks okay, but then we have all this T12 and all that stuff. So it's going to format it all to look like a presentable date. Very cool. Let's see. I think we're good. Actually, we're not good yet. All right. So, okay. So now that we have our new item updated object here all set up, okay, what we need to do is I'm going to create at the end here. In fact, let's see. Here, I'm just going to call this handle submitted. Not that one. We're going to create a new one called update. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pass index and then the item, which is this object that we're passing here. Let's go ahead and create this method real quick. There we go. Okay, so here what we're going to do is, and on handle submitted, it's going to be called the moment we hit update. So what we're going to do here, again, because we want to make sure that our view or a page or a screen is redrawn. Okay, that's the whole idea. We have to go ahead and call this set state. Gotta remember this because it's the cause of a lot of headache. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna remove this item again from our view here. This is a little trick. We're gonna remove this item that we updated from the view. That way we can then call the database again because we have just updated so that we can retrieve the updated item to show it. So it's gonna be very quick. So that users can actually see the item updated right away. So it's a little trick that we're doing here, okay? We're gonna have to go items, list, remember, that has everything. We can also say to remove where, look at that, that's the beauty of lists, right? Remove where, then here we're gonna pass, I'm gonna just call this element, just to make it easy. And so inside here, we're going to loop through and remove the item that we want to remove. So I'm going to also go say items and pass in the index. It's very important. And then I'm going to say the item name where it's equal to item.item name. Okay, let's explain what's going on here. We are passing the index, right? So we know exactly which row we are trying to remove or update in this case, I should say. And then we're passing the actual object. So we're saying here, the moment we click on the update, we are going to remove the item from here. So this whole row, we're saying here, let's find the object that we're talking about, right? And the list. So we go through list and pass an index, and we're going to go and find the item name. One of the item name that we want to remove has to be exactly the same as the item name of the object that we're just passing. Okay, so if those are the same, then we know this is the item that we are updating. So we're going to remove it. The moment we remove it, let's go back to our invocation here. Once we remove it, this is very important because we haven't really updated anything. Once we remove it, I'm going to say await. I'm going to say db dot look at this, update item, and we're going to pass the new updated item updated like that. Okay? So we did something very tricky here, but it makes sense. So we handle the submit update first by removing the item from the view real quick, okay? And the moment we remove it, we also go ahead and update our item, or call the database and actually update that item, okay? If you do this, everything is going to work fine. However, we're just going to be able to see the item removed. We're not going to be actually able to go and call back again and redo everything to show the items, the new everything that was updated and that has been on the database, to show it all again. So the idea now is to go back here and say set state. See, there's a lot of set state here because we want to keep redrawing our screen, right? What we'll do, we're going to say read no-do lists again, because we've created this method a while back that goes ahead and gets everything from database again. That is the trick. So again, handle submit. This is cosmetic, so we just redrawing the screen. Okay, and then here, of course, we are updating the item, and here we are redrawing again the screen with all items saved in the DB. So this process, the beauty here is that the process is so fast that the user won't be able to distinguish the difference. It's just going to be really fast. Okay, that's the idea. So let's save this and give it a run and see if we can actually see this in action. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and click, and there we go. That was long press, and there we go, update item. Let's see, I'm going to say don't cry update. That way I know exactly what I updated. Say don't, doesn't matter really, cry. I'm going to say updated. Click update, and look at that. You see that? All of a sudden, it went ahead and removed the first item that was there, okay, and then recreated it again. But now it's actually getting from the database because it was updated and shows their update. Ah, very cool. Now, there's one thing we need to finish up here. When you click updated, we need to remove this, of course, right? So let's go back and let's see. Let's go to handle. Maybe this will be the best place. Actually, let's go back here at the bottom here. We're going to just say navigator, pop, like this. Okay, that's much better. Let's run again. Okay, there we go. We ran. Don't cry updated. Let's update this over exercise. Okay, let's say over exercise updated. Click updated. You can see over exercises was updated. Very cool. And notice also the times now when you update, because we now have created this date formatted method. Notice now it says created on Monday, April 30th, 2018. This one here is still showing the old one because that's actually coming from the database. That's how you know, right? Because we haven't changed anything. So if I actually go ahead and update this one here, if I said it too much, less, say updated, okay, say update, look at that, now everything is updated. Very cool. And the cool thing also is now if we go ahead here and start adding more items, let's say buy expensive cars, save, look at that, buy expensive cars, can keep adding, more is always less, save, you can keep adding. Let's see, what is the no to-do list for me? Work too much, and you can keep adding, and you can do the same thing. If you want to delete, there we go, delete it. Let's see, I want to update buying cars, actually do buy cars, look at that, actually do buy cars is there. All right, perfect. folks. So now we have a perfectly fine working application. In fact, let's go ahead and run this on Android as well, because that's the whole idea, the cross-platform saga. Folks, this is always very exciting, and let's try to do that. Again, Android is always, you have to run a few times to actually pick up all of the changes. There we go. So we got a bunch of different things. I'm going to go ahead and delete all these old ones because we don't need any of those. There we go. Let's see. If I want to go ahead and update this one, updated item. Let's see where updated item. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Update this with emoji because you can actually do this. Let's put a smiley face. There we go, and so forth. We can keep adding things. Let's say I want to add, let's see, be rude. There we go. Very nice. So all running. Let's go down to do app here. Look at this. We have this awesome application running on both Android and iOS. This, folks, is awesome. I hope you're excited as I am. I'm always excited, of course. And play around with this concept, right? So now you have all the tools. Most importantly, you know how to put together a database. You know how to create rows or fields on a database and give it a name. You know how to properly set up the async and futures to get, read, update, and so forth. But most importantly, also able to connect that with an actual application, the user interface. Get users to add things and to remove things, to update, and so forth. So with all of this knowledge that you've had in this past 2 sections now, you can do a lot of things. In fact, I encourage you to think of an application that you can use, that you can build using all the tools that you have learned in this section, or past 2 sections, I should say. Okay, so get into those habits, and also always think of things that you want to build. Okay, ask your friends, ask your parents, ask your grandparents, or ask anybody that you know if there's any sort of application that they've always wanted built, and just build it. Okay, you're not going to be making $1 million with that idea. It's for us to get used to building things, and maybe also in the process be inspired to actually build something that maybe could change people's lives, and maybe you end up making that $1 million, right? So get into those habits, and also as you build all of these different applications, you trial and error, and you're learning things, you're practicing, you are also, if you think about it, you're also building your portfolio. So now you can put on your resume, you can put on your LinkedIn that you are a Flutter, a Dart, and a Flutter developer because you've built those applications, because you are the one who's building this stuff, right? Okay. So I encourage you to think in those terms always, and then you'll see that you're going to be getting more and more value out of this course. And of course, as always, please do share all of your ideas, all of the apps that you're building with us, so that I can let other people know, feature you in our newsletter and announcements that I send. Okay? Again, like always, if you have any questions at all, please do ask. Very proud of you. See you next.